December 2024, Ukrainian President Zelensky proposed a temporary ceasefire condition, requesting NATO security, guarantees and full protection of Ukraine's territorial integrity, including Crimea and eastern regions. This offer followed ongoing military pressure on Ukraine and a desire for international support. Russia rejected the proposal, insisting on recognizing Crimea and Donbas as Russian territories and cessation of Western military aid. The EU and NATO reaffirmed their support for Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Zelensky's proposal aimed to reduce the war's toll, secure NATO guarantees, and create space for future negotiations, while maintaining Western support for Ukraine's cause. Welcome to Black Bloc Hong Kongers, your go-to channel for in-depth discussions on international politics and global crises. Stay tuned as we uncover the truths behind the headlines. Like, share, and subscribe to join our community of critical thinkers. In early December 2024, the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine remained a significant international issue, with discussions about a potential ceasefire agreement becoming a focal point. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, in an interview with Sky News, publicly outlined Ukraine's conditions for considering a temporary ceasefire. These included security guarantees from NATO, alongside the protection of Ukraine's territorial integrity, particularly over Crimea and the eastern regions. Zelensky stressed that any ceasefire agreement must ensure Ukraine's full territorial sovereignty and would not mean relinquishing its claim over the territories currently under Russian control. This proposal quickly drew a strong response from Russia. Kremlin spokespersons criticized Ukraine's conditions as overly idealistic, arguing that Ukraine had failed to acknowledge Russia's actual control over Crimea and the Donbas region. Russia emphasized that any ceasefire agreement should include international recognition of these regions as part of Russia and demanded that the West stop providing military aid to Ukraine, warning that talks could not proceed under such circumstances. The European Union, EU, and NATO responded firmly. During a visit to Kyiv, EU leaders reiterated that the EU would continue its military and economic support for Ukraine, emphasizing that Ukraine had the right to choose its own security arrangements, including joining NATO. The EU stance was clear: any ceasefire agreement must respect Ukraine's territorial integrity. NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg also reaffirmed NATO's unwavering support for Ukraine, asserting that any ceasefire should be determined by Ukraine itself and should not compromise its sovereignty. Zelensky's proposal was motivated by a variety of complex factors. First, Ukraine had been under intense military pressure for an extended period. Despite some tactical victories, Ukrainian forces faced fierce Russian counterattacks, and the ongoing conflict was depleting Ukraine's resources. With the onset of winter, the situation was expected to become even more challenging. Zelensky likely saw the ceasefire offer as a means to secure more international support and seek a diplomatic resolution to the conflict. Second, Zelensky may have recognized that Western support for Ukraine was not unconditional. As the EU and the United States grappled with an escalating energy crisis and economic difficulties, there was increasing scrutiny of the long-term cost of supporting Ukraine. To continue receiving this crucial aid, Zelensky needed to demonstrate a willingness to pursue peace. Thus, the ceasefire proposal might have been a strategy to minimize the war's toll while solidifying relations with Western allies. Additionally, Zelensky's request for NATO security guarantees underscored his deep concern for Ukraine's future security. This was not only about defending against future Russian threats, but also about ensuring Ukraine's autonomy after the war. While this request could provoke a strong reaction from Russia, Zelensky was determined to anchor Ukraine in a more secure international framework to prevent future aggression. Finally, the proposal might also have been aimed at gaining more flexibility for future negotiations. If Russia under pressure from economic and military strain, agreed to a ceasefire. Ukraine would have time to rebuild its military strength and pursue more favorable diplomatic terms. Even if Russia rejected the proposal, it could help Ukraine garner more international sympathy and further solidify support for its cause. In conclusion, Zelensky's ceasefire proposal was driven both by military exhaustion and the need for diplomatic maneuvering. He sought to end the war through diplomatic means, while ensuring Ukraine's territorial integrity and security, regardless of whether Russia accepted the conditions. Zelensky's proposal created more space for future negotiations and strengthened the international support for Ukraine. Thank you for watching BlackBlock Hong Kong's Global Insight Network. Like, share, and subscribe for in-depth analyses on international politics and critical issues. Explore these videos next and join the conversation for a more insightful world.